All right, the reason why President Uhuru Kenyatta was addressing the Milken Institute gathering in the U.S. via Skype is that he was unable to fly to the U.S. His plane that was flying to Dubai was forced to turn back home under unclear circumstances. The president, who was due to connect to a commercial flight to Los Angeles, did not make it to Dubai in what was initially said to be navigation challenges caused by military activity in Yemen. However, informed sources familiar with aircraft routes say the president's military jet could have been turned back on the skies over Eritrea. So, question is, did Eritrea turn back the presidential jet? And if so, why did they do that? What is the relationship, diplomatic relationship for that matter, between Kenya and Eritrea? And to expound on that, I'm joined by the Eritrean ambassador to Kenya, Mr. Bayene Rusum. Thank you so much for joining us on KTN Prime tonight. Did Eritrea turn back the presidential jet in its airspace?
No. The president's plane never reached the Eritrean airspace. We have been contacted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in particular by the Department of Protocol, to provide them with the necessary, what we call overflying permits. And we did provide those permits in 20 minutes without waiting the formal request, written request, because we were told it was urgent. So we did it in 20 minutes, and that's what we know about our collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
So
and suddenly we saw it in the standard that the plane came back from Eritrean airspace.
Mr. Ambassador, that's why you're here, to clear the air for us. So what you're saying is that your government gave the overflying permits to the presidential jet.
Sure.
Your government knew President Uhuru Kenyatta was going to fly over its airspace.
Sure.
Okay. So basically, what is the protocol, Mr. Ambassador, when someone is about to fly into a foreign airspace?
Well, you are formally and officially requested of this, what they call overflying permits. And it is the government and the Civil Aviation Authority that provides these overflying permits. They have their codes and signs which are given to the airport command, so that the air controllers and the pilots, communicate with this terminology, with this verbiage. And that's how an airplane passes an airspace of a country from a country to another country.
So from your standpoint, Eritrea gave the overflying permits and you did not turn back the presidential jet?
It never reached the Eritrean airspace.
Okay.
And we never knew what happened, but it never reached the Eritrean airspace. But our authorities were told to wait for this airplane to pass over Eritrea and to make sure that it passes safely in our Eritrean airspace.
Okay. This is probably the reason why some fingers are being pointed at Eritrea, because there has been, quote-unquote, diplomatic bad blood between Kenya and Eritrea. In 2011, Kenya filed a case before the UN Security Council Sanctions Committee for investigations into Eritrea's alleged support to the Al-Shabaab. In 2009, an Eritrean diplomat was expelled from Kenya. Is there a diplomatic bad blood between Kenya and Eritrea?
Who is saying so?
That's
May
what
I
I'm
ask
asking you.
Who is saying so? It is this unseasoned journalists that bring these words.
Okay.
Because it has been. I read it in the standard newspaper. First and foremost, if there was no overflying permit for the president, then any plane cannot pass an airspace. Okay. The journalist by the name Rosalind Obala wrote this, what we call bad blood between the two countries. Why? We have a good diplomatic relationship.
So clear this.
We have very good diplomatic relationship. Okay. Let me finish. We have been cooperating in many issues, like the ICC. We have ambassadors that are accredited to both countries. My president came here on the 50th anniversary of your Independence Day. The both presidents met and discussed on many issues that we are working. So there is no what we call this bad blood between the two countries. But any journalist can say so, just out of the blues, creating from his own mind. At least I know what a journalistic ethics and code should be. We are here as ambassadors. We are here as a
Precisely.
mission.
That is why we have you here.
No, this is after the milk was spilled. It shouldn't have been now. It should have been asked in the beginning. If as a journalist wants to write, Mr. Ambassador, did our plane turn back from Eritrea? That was the first question.
Okay.
What is the use now? After all, people have had this negative attitude.
Probably
about,
so that the fingers
Eritrea.
are not pointed at the wrong corner, Mr. Ambassador. But we thank you for joining us on KTN Prime, for clearing the air, and of course for airing the voice of your government. Thank you so much for joining us. We have been speaking to Eritrean Ambassador to Kenya, Mr. Bayan Rosom, on whether or not Eritrea turned back the presidential jet from its airspace. He says there's very good relationship between Kenya and Eritrea, and no, Eritrea did not turn back the presidential jet. You're watching. We've run out of time.
You did not even ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Okay,
this is the biggest mistake. As a Kenyan, should have even asked your own government, because your own government knows that Eritrea collaborated, to make this pass safe over Eritrean airspace, without asking the Minister of Foreign Affairs, without asking the Eritrean embassy. How can one write Mr. Cyrus Ombati?
Okay, that is why we called you here, Mr. Ambassador. We've given you the chance to clear the air. You've given the side of the story for your government. We hope Kenyans are listening, and of course you're hoping the fingers will be pointed in the right direction, if at all there's any finger to point. And we thank you for joining us on KTN Prime, Eritrean Ambassador to Kenya, Bayan Rosom. Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back.